Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. I'd just like to start by acknowledging that we are on the unceded land of the Ngunnawal and the Ngambri, and pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging, and also extend a very warm welcome to any First Nations people joining us here this evening. For those whose first time it is here, welcome to Photo Access. For everyone else, welcome back. My name is Alex Robinson, and I'm the director here. So what we do here at Photo Access would not be possible without the funding that we receive from Arts ACT, that's Arts Centre Investment Funding, and we also, from the start of this year, also receive federal funding from Creative Australia, which helps fund all the programs that we do here, so thank you for that support. We also have two fabulous drink sponsors, beverage sponsors, so Larrabee Estate Wines that are out there on Lake George, and tonight we have a Shiraz and a Riesling. And also our beer sponsor is Hawk's Brew from Marrickville. So thank you for that support. All the drinks are free, as always, but if you'd like to make a donation, all the funding goes back into our programs and the support that we provide to artists. Okay, so this evening it's my pleasure to introduce two new exhibitions here at Photo Access. In galleries 2 and 3, we have work which has not been seen since 1972-73, shot on location in Austin, Texas by esteemed anthropologist, filmmaker, and one of the pioneers of observational cinema, Judith MacDougall. And unfortunately, Judith isn't here tonight, as most of you know. She's unwell, so we send her our best wishes and hope she has a speedy recovery. And she was a graduate of the San Francisco Art Institute and the UCLA Film School. MacDougall made documentary films in Uganda and the USA before arriving at the Rice University Media Center in Houston, Texas in 1972, and it's in that context that the pictures here this evening were taken. And in Gallery 1, we have a performative installation, the Camera Unrepair Shop by UK Frederick. Frederick is a Canberra-based artist and academic who works across photography, printmaking, video and installation, and is currently a senior research fellow at the Centre for Creative Cultural Research at the University of Canberra. And it's now my pleasure to introduce Anio here, Curator of Photography at the National Gallery of Australia, who will say a few words and formally open the exhibitions. Thank you, Anne.
Thanks, Alex. I'd also like to acknowledge the unceded lands of the Ngambri Ngunnawal people and pay my respects to elders past and present. It's really wonderful to be back at Photo Access. I've got lots of notes here, but I'm not going to be able to read them there. But it is a great privilege to be here to talk about these two exhibitions. They both engage with bringing things that have maybe been forgotten about for quite a long time. Not things abandoned, but things maybe put aside. In the case of Ursula's work, the cameras that have been have been much cherished at some time perhaps, but are now sort of abandoned in some way. And with the case of Judith MacDougall's incredible work from the early 1970s, work that she completed that is an incredible body of documentary work about a particular place at a particular time, but then moved on to other projects, and now through care and attention with both projects, through these sort of moments of paying attention in a very tender sort of way. Judith's son has gone back into these almost 2,500 negatives that Judith had put into a binder and put away, to go back into this work, to make it visible again, I think it's a beautiful project to pay sort of homage to this work that was done when he was a little toddler in America, in Texas in the 1970s. And I think I've certainly known the work of Judith MacDougall and her husband David, as of course so many people do, for many, many years. Their work as documentaries, ethnographic filmmakers, I don't think it's any exaggeration to say that, and it's been said, that it's some of the most important work in terms of the way that it changed the landscape of ethnographic filmmaking in the 60s and 70s. so we know that work really well, and I remember seeing a film they made. I haven't seen a lot of the work, but they made in India about photography, about the sort of photo wallers, about the sort of people who work in that interesting way with community and so on, many years ago. So I've always known that work, but I must admit, I thought, Judith's a filmmaker, and that's fantastic, and it's really important work, but it doesn't really intersect with me. So to realise that it did is very exciting. I'm really sorry that Judith couldn't be here tonight. But I guess it's that extraordinary thing with the work that she did in the 1970s of being in the right place at the right time. It's an incredible, if I could sort of go back maybe to that time, I've been thinking quite a lot about California, particularly about the San Francisco Art Institute, which was one of the most extraordinary sort of photographic centres on the West Coast, certainly at that time. And I think there was that sense very much that that place was a place of great possibility, that there's that sort of myth of the West that I think was still very strong. You could go there and you could do something really new. So Judith, who'd had support from, I think Colin was telling me that her mother was maybe, we don't clear on the facts, but her mother maybe was a curator in Chicago or something, and her grandmother gave her like the Leica M3, I know. So I love the fact that that sort of thing is coming down through the family, because I think you can see she goes to UCLA, one of the great film schools in the 1960s. But I think you can see that by the time she gets to this work in 1972, she's thinking really incredibly interestingly about maybe the way that still photo sort of is different to the moving image, that that she's been working, that her and David have been working to reframe the way that filmmaking's being done, much more inclusive, much more sort of this sort of observational cinema that's so important. And you can see that she has a little kid, she can't sort of do the filmmaking at this time, so she goes into photo. It's more accessible. I love that sort of gender thing. She goes into street photography, which at the time is still, there's lots of women who work on the street in really amazing ways, but it's always been a sort of blokey, boysy sort of thing. And it was interesting, I was talking to Colin this afternoon, and he was saying, Mum was really young and pretty at the time and so on, and I thought that he was going to sort of go on to say that she was sort of hassled on the street when she was taking this stuff, but in fact she was invisible. Because that's what's that thing called, where you can't sort of see what you don't even expect to see there, invisible objects or something. So she's a woman on this, on the street with a camera at that time. She's not as sort of scary as a man might be in some ways. Gary Winogrand is in Texas at the same time. She's at Rice University, which is just this incredible place again, where all the sort of major photographers are turning up. In fact, it's Gary Winogrand who tells her that the camera shutter's stuck and to get the Leica M4 instead. So, really extraordinary time to be there. But I guess you can be in a place and still not completely take advantage of that. But Judith really does manage to make this incredible body of work. And if you spend time looking at the images, you can see what a great eye she's got. There's 2,500 negatives, so this woman's going out a lot. That's a lot of rolls of film. I did the calculations, I've forgotten again. But it's a lot. She's out and she's looking and she's looking and she's going, and it's a very focused project that I love. She's doing public events. She's using the camera. She's using the same lens, a 35mm lens. So she's getting close. But it's a very sort of a very tight sort of project for that reason. And if you go and look carefully at the photographs, you can see this is somebody who's got a really great eye. Those sort of images where the figures sort of go in this fantastic rhythm and dance across the surface. And she's really interested in how you do still life into an image, which I think is, she's thinking this is different to film in that way, and sort of talks about the Leica giving her wings to go and do this project, which I guess in some ways is good in relation to film, because she can do it, and it's sort of lighter, I think, in some ways maybe. And then of course she does the project and goes on with David to build an extraordinary genre-changing work in filmmaking. But I always get a bit annoyed with these wonderful photographers who work in photo for a very short time and then move on to something else. But I guess in Judith's case it's acceptable. But it is a bit of a thing. And often I do feel that those bodies of work that are very short, maybe some people know in some way that they're going to be there for a little bit of time, and they do a really cracking job of it. So I'm really thrilled to see the work, and I'm really looking forward to hopefully getting to talk to Judith about it as well. And I just want to say thank you to Colin to make this work available, and to David, of course, because supporting a woman to do this work, which at the time was not that it was difficult probably at times to be out on those streets with all those cowboys, but also really fun. So wonderful body of work. And that same sort of attention and interest and sophistication and intelligence and beauty and tenderness and violence that Ursula UK brings to her work. Of course, up to another person who's been in Canberra for a long time, like the MacDougals have been for 50 years, so I guess you're a bit of a local when you've been here for that long from the States. But again, just incredible. I mean, I feel silly talking about the work because in both cases there are beautiful essays on the work. So do read the work by Vari on Ursula's work, because it does just really nail it about what the work is about. Again, I can never look at a cyanotype without coming back to that idea about, going back to Anne Atkins and the cyanotypes of the 1840s. So again, there's that great sort of wonderful history of cyanotype work. It's always so exciting. And I guess, Ursula's done this work of disassembling things. She's done, coffee machines and so on. But sort of to turn her hands to disassembling cameras, and then to use the camera itself to make a portrait without the camera should be doing it. It's really playful, as Barry says, and it's also really extraordinary sort of comments, again, from a sort of Ursula's archaeological background, to look at work in that way, and to think about the mechanics of making and resources and all that sort of stuff. We were saying this, I wonder how many cameras have been made in the history of camera making, and now most of them we struggle to give away, except unless it's a Leica, of course. But I'm really excited to see that project build over the next few weeks. As you know, Ursula's going to be performing the work, which is always really exciting. So I've talked way too long. I'm sorry. I thought I only had a minute in me. But I'm just really excited by the shows. Photo Access just doing great things as ever, and bringing these really extraordinary projects to life. So congratulations to all concerned.
Great, thank you, Annie. And David, do you want to come and say something? Because it says now my honourable pleasure to introduce David MacDougall, who's just going to say a few words of thanks.
Thanks, Alex. Well, Judith asked me to say a few words on her behalf because fate chose the last 3 or 4 days to put her in hospital with pneumonia, and she'll probably be out tomorrow. So it's very bad timing, I'm afraid. But I wanted to just repeat a few things that she wanted me to say. First of all, to thank Colin, our son, who, without his inspiration and hard work, this exhibition of Judith's pictures would never have happened. Colin sort of came upon a trove of negatives that we had put away, and Judith almost had forgotten these negatives, 2,500 images. And he was very excited to see them and to rediscover them. And so it's through his work. He also did all the printing of the negatives. And through the people here at Photo Access that it's possible to show these images to you. I'll just say one other thing. Judith said that there's sort of an explanation why there was this interregnum of still photography in our work of filmmaking. And it's because of Colin again. At the time, he was a toddler, 3 or 4 years old. And it was a time when neither of us, because I was also teaching at Rice University at the time, and there were a few years there where we couldn't make films. And she chose that time to devote herself really completely to still photography, to see what she could do with it, and worked very hard, as Anne has said, thoughtfully to make these images. So again, Colin was very much responsible for that happening. That's really all I'd like to say, but thank you all for coming. And I'll report back to Judith that how many of you came and some of the nice things that you managed to say. So enjoy the wine and meeting each other again. Thanks very much.
Great, thank you, David. And just one other thing to mention, on the 30th of August, Ursula is going to have a workshop. So it's kind of a playful hands-on workshop entitled X-ray Vision Photogram Workshop. It's kind of disassembling things, understanding how they work, and then doing photographs of that. So please sign up for that. There are other workshops available on the website. Our exhibition program for 2026, EOI is currently live, so if you artists or photographers out there who are looking for an exhibition opportunity, please submit a proposal by the 25th of August, so you've got a few weeks to finish that off. And the next opening is here on Thursday, the 18th of September. That's Lila Benetti and Annabelle McEwen. Thank you to the board and the staff here at Photo Access for working very hard to get everything on the wall and everything like that. And thank you to our artists and all their hard work, and also to Colin as well, because he also Colin. Thank you. Yeah, thank you everyone. Have a good night.